Alright, it is time to continue NaNoWriMo. I'm going for 40,000 words today. That's about 2,500 more. And then we are well on our way to getting the 50,000 word goal, whether the novel will be finished or not. We'll see how that rolls. Alright. Bringing up the screen, I have Rise Again, a sci-fi novel by Jay Wilburn. Currently 2,500 words short of the 40,000 word goal for today. Alright, so we're in chapter 18. I knew they were from another world the moment he landed on my operating table. Even before the med scans showed anomalies in his DNA. Other details were out of place. Clothing, enzymes, antibodies, and more. All of that is detailed in the reports. Okay. The biggest clue was the projectile wound. I had not treated a projectile wound in 107 years. The powder burns were another clue that the patient was either from another time or another world. I began treating his wound right away. I had to extract the metal, which had broken into two pieces. I also needed to fuse a broken bone that was in the path, and then set the nanites to work. Replacing blood and creating new skin. I also identified a skin infection in his leg, possibly from an old injury that got into his blood. It was only partially treated, and by antibiotics I could not identify. I cleared his system of that infection as well. Do I want to buy followers? No, I don't. Okay. Moving along. Alright, I cleared his system of that infection as well. Yet another clue that he was not from our quantum. No, that's not right. We haven't gotten into that. Yet another clue he was not from our reality. His companions requested to be allowed entry and to observe. It was up to my discretion as the medical AI. So I allowed them in. I had to tell the female to stand back from the protective shielding. The other two men restrained her until she calmed. As I worked, well, let me make that a new paragraph. As I worked, I explained how I was treating him. I'm not sure they understood. I also scanned the 3 companions. I justified this decision on the basis of the anomalies in the patient's DNA. The full details in the reports were not available to me immediately, but I was able to see enough to know that they were from other realities as well. Judging from the differences between each of them, I would guess, no, he wouldn't guess, I would conclude that the 4 of them came from 3 or 4 different realities. That is the only explanation that fits the findings. The patient was healed and released in 10 minutes. It took longer because of the severity of his blood loss and the unusual nature of his wounds. It was an hour and a half later that I discovered the novel virus. There are several antibodies within the 4 individuals that could indicate an illness the surviving humans of our reality. There are several antibodies within the 4 individuals that could indicate an illness the surviving humans of our reality have no defense or immunity for. I have turned that data over to immunology to begin creating prophylactic treatments. The novel virus, however, poses a particularly acute threat I'm having spelling issues today. Alright, a particularly acute threat I applied for and was permitted to send out a retrieve request on all 4 of them for a preemptive quarantine. In the meantime, I've submitted the virus data to a higher level threat team. The detection did not occur until later because the virus was not yet plentiful in their systems. It appears to be from animal origin and crossed the species barrier at some point in those individuals' past. Either it was from an animal that did not exist in our world or went extinct at some point in the past. Research continues. Based on the fact that we have lost track of the individuals, it is my conclusion that they traveled to another reality, just as they must have traveled to ours. I conclude the safest course of action is to continue to search for them as we prepare for a possible pandemic threat. Protecting the remaining humans in our world is our highest priority. More AI should be allotted to these tasks due to the severity of the underlying threat. All right. So that was their electronic doctor. Really short chapter, but that's all right. Chapter 19. All right. What is chapter 19? Okay, I need to do the chapter first. And question mark 54 when 1 bulk 52 resource question mark 4. Okay. I like my job at the Rusty Nail. My mother certainly would wish that I might marry and find more honorable work or no work at all. That is the sort of thinking that leads women to wait for some rich strangers to walk over the hill into our little town. Pete, Samson, and Maggie do a fine job of making sure the customers, say patrons, the patrons know that respect is expected. Besides, thanks, man. Besides, my mother married, and I've never seen a less happy woman in my life. Not much interesting happens here, but if it ever does, the rusty nail would be the place. So I was quite interested when the 4 strangers did come over the hill and dropped in for a drink. One of them was even named Overhill. I found their conversation interesting, and I had perfected the art of listening through the noise while pretending not to be listening at all. Their names were Evelyn, Patrick, Trey, and Rick. Patrick was the Overhill. Patrick and the woman were staying in town while Trey and Rick were leaving. I gathered that they had traveled many miles through many lands together. I assumed that was a long time, although they made no mention of years. Rick, the softest looking of the bunch, had just lost his mom, and it appeared his father was dying too. Rick looked utterly unprepared for life on the road. His skin was as pale as cream and smooth as silk. If he did a day of work in his life, then I wanted to know what ointments he used to restore his hands. I'd make myself rich with that concoction. Okay. Alright, moving right along. They toasted one another and toasted people not present. There were tears, but not many. Where will you go? Evelyn asked as the hours grew darker and, well, let's do darker last, grew later and darker. Trey laughed at this and choked on a swallow of ale. I guess we will go to wherever we end up next. Patrick laughed at this and said, perhaps we should have stayed in the land of robots, of healing robots. I did not know the meaning of his last word. We would have never fit in there, Trey said. No, Evelyn said. That's not what I meant. Are you going to search for the world where the wars turned out differently, or will you finally settle in one that is better than most? Trey thought deep on this and said, I'm not sure. Maybe I should have stayed in a world like this one that I left behind long ago. You're welcome to carve out a life with us, Patrick said. I know I'm not the best company often, but I think we can get by in the same town, if not the same house. Trey smiled and looked at Rick. I know you signed onto this journey under duress. Do you care to stay here as I move on? Rick's pale face drew paler still. All right. I don't know. Future robot world might have been a better fit than this one. Hold on, I need to go back for something. They spoke languages from no database at our disposal. If you could ever figure out that gibberish the machines were speaking, Patrick said, it was derived from Latin, Trey said. I was able to get that much, but whatever path they took once leaving the Roman Empire. Okay, I need to put a quotation mark there. Whatever path they took once leaving the Roman Empire, it was vastly different from ours. I probably could have figured it out in time. In the meantime, Patrick said, you'd have to figure out food, money, and shelter in a world well beyond any of our skills. Rick said, yeah, I should probably move on with Trey. Rick said, yeah, I should probably move on with Trey. I need somewhere between milking cows and flying spaceships. Somewhere with a Netflix, I think. Again, I was lost. They spoke English well enough, but many of the words and places they threw in were unknown to me. These were true adventurers, maybe actors, based on Rick's porcelain skin. Don't let perfect be the enemy of what's good. Evelyn said. Trey laughed and then said, where did you pick up that phrase? I didn't know that was one from your world. We watched a lot of television at Rick's house. Trey nodded. Okay, I'll bite. What is the perfect and what is the good in my case. Evelyn said, you are looking for one world where your one war was decided differently. You were looking for one world where your one war was decided differently. You haven't found it. You haven't found it. So you keep jumping from world to world to world without end. I do study each one I am in. I do study each one I'm in when time and circumstance allows, Trey said. I find what is unacceptable and I move on. That is your perfect ruining what might be good. She said. Trey lifted his mug at Patrick and said, well, as much as I wanted to stay in a plague world with a brand new dictator, as much as I wanted to stay in a plague world with a brand new dictator, Patrick certainly made a mess of things, forcing us to leave in a hurry. You going to throw that in my face forever? Patrick asked. Not after tonight, Trey said. There was a pause in their strange chatter. Then they lifted and clinked their mugs together again. Good luck wherever you boys land, Patrick said. They looked around at me and I got another round. What war are you trying to reverse? Rick asked Trey. Before he could answer, Big Samson slapped their shoulders and said, let's give this girl a name. Annabelle tells me you four are saying your goodbyes in the rusty nail tonight. They looked around at me and I got busy wiping a corner of the bar with my apron. Okay. We are the best at saying goodbye, Samson declared. He brought more drink and cooked up some foods not listed on the menu boards. Word went out. The town came in and we locked the doors with everyone inside. Word went out, the town came in, and we locked the doors with everyone inside. The lock-in was a good one. It lasted nearly to dawn, and many got very little work done the next day. Food, song, and drink. Food, song, drink, and dancing. Saw Trey and Rick off as we welcomed Evelyn and Patrick to our fold. I never saw Trey or Rick again, but I remember that night because it was one of the last good ones for many days. For some in town, it was their last lock-in. All right. So we have finished chapter 19. Let's move to chapter 20. Chapter 20. I'm still a little under 900 words left to go for today. We're going to stay in this world. Control copy. Control V. Okay. Moving right along. Okay. There is much I would be tempted to change. Of course, if I've learned anything in my life before Trey Green changed everything. Alright, there's much I would be tempted to change. Of course, if I've learned anything in my life before Trey Green changed everything, or after, it is that so much of the universe, all the universes, are out of our control. So, wherever we travel, whatever life we make for ourselves, we do what we can with what we got. Do what we can with what we got. The rest is simply the story. Patrick got sick first. Either fortunately or unfortunately, others showed symptoms, and a few died before Patrick's illness came to light with the rest of the town. By that point, it had spread to surrounding towns, and no one pinned us as the source. Based on the symptoms Rick described, it was the virus from his world. Patrick must have caught it, maybe from his time in that hospital, and we brought it to this world. I caught it too. No way to avoid it, as I cared for others. I survived it robot had to say goodbye to Patrick no sooner than our lives had begun together in this world we chose for ourselves. Maybe it would have been different if we stayed in Rick's world, or if we had remained in the futuristic world for the robots to treat us. Clearly, they missed the virus too, so I doubt there would be any difference. I convinced the town elders of Caroline here in the state of Dakota in the nation of Louisiana to use masks to quarantine and to distance. It has made a difference. We are comforting the ones who aren't recovering as best we can. For all the good it does, I've been made a town doctor now that I've recovered. Annabelle, just gotta do an A there. Annabelle has been a great help, and I will. Hey, Mealy, thank you. Annabelle has been a great help, and I will try to keep her on as a ward angel after we get past this disease. How long will that be? I've heard rumors that the illness has jumped the border into this world's version of America. This is my home now, and I will fight for it. I was never much of a religious person, but the town draws strength from their faith, and it rubs off. I have prayed often for Trey Green and Rick Helms. I pray they did not have this virus. I pray they are not spreading it from world to world. I pray that Trey finally finds what it is he is looking for. I believe I loved Patrick in the end. We had so little. Story's going pretty well, I think. I'm closing in on 40,000 words. As I got into the middle, I wasn't sure if I was getting bogged down, but I think the plot's moving along. There's a twist that I have coming up that I don't know if I waited too late into the story to bring up, but that may be something I need to fix in editing. I believe I loved Patrick in the end. We had so little time to explore that, but we aren't guaranteed any time at all, so I try to enjoy what I'm given. The truth is, Patrick and I were born in different worlds. Only Trey Green and his strange implants could have brought us together. Only these most rare of circumstances made our meeting and our time together possible. Perhaps no one else in any universe was ever given as much opportunity as we were. I will cherish what I was given. I will be thankful and make the most out of my life as I can. For now, I help. That is my purpose, no matter what world I find myself in. Alright, we need to do about 400 words on yet another chapter. I don't think this one is going to be quite as short as the others. So, chapter 21. Okay. Fun. Okay, this one, post end 173, cold war shift question mark 15, bulk 53, then asteroid question mark. Great. Trey and Rick watched the man die with his head downhill as he bled out in the snow. They did not hurt him or participate in... No, I gotta have somebody telling the story. Okay. I gotta change that. I was trying to switch to third person here. I've been switching around narrators, but I need somebody to do it, so we'll make Rick the narrator of this one. Trey and I watched the man die with his head downhill as he bled in the snow. We did not hurt him or participate in his beating, but we did not step in to stop it either. Our guide, the man Trey had hired with the scrap copper, he managed... Our guide, the man Trey had hired with the scrap copper, he managed to collect, finally said, we need to keep moving. It was incredibly cold. Somehow we had drifted too far west. But it still should have been warm. I suppose whatever happened to this world, could change the climate. My world and, okay, hold on, Trey's world and mine to a lesser degree were getting warmer. This could be a world that got colder. Still, I couldn't figure out. Still, I couldn't figure out how we got this far west. We left my home through one of Trey's portals in North Carolina. Then androids took us to a hospital within minutes. The transport moved fast. Then we found ourselves in the Dakotas. I think it was hard to tell when history was changed enough. Now we needed to march back because I make that a new paragraph. Now we needed to march back because whatever was wrong in this half of this world's North America, it was interfering with whatever technology was inside Trey. So we were traveling by foot until we figured out what was keeping his tech from recharging this time. Okay, I just realized I need to do something up where the robot was scanning him because he has all this technology inside him. So I'm going to go back up here. His companions. The strangest the details that lack explanation. Hold on. A significant detail that lacks explanation is the microfibrial trying to invent a word here. All right. Fibril. The microfibril technology. No, you wouldn't call it that. Microfibril grid within one of the individuals was as advanced as our leading hedge technology. However, it matched nothing in our records. Whatever reality he came from, it was one. It had to be one that ran parallel to our world's development with different results. I determined no threat in the technology, but the analysis and I determined no threat in the technology, but the analysis and research and imaging is incomplete at this point. Alright, I'll probably add on to that chapter some later, but needed to get at least that detail down. Alright, so we got a little more to go here. What if there is no place where the interference lets up? I asked. Trey stared at the guide's back and cut his eyes at me. Then I suppose we'll need to find ourselves a little farm and settle down like Patrick and Evelyn did. I looked over my shoulder and picked out the spot where the man had just died. It was the only bright color across this frozen landscape. Maybe we should have stayed with them, knowing what we know now. Alright, I'm going to stop there today because I'm past the 40,000. Alright, so I'm 40,023. So I will update my NaNoWriMo. Alright, so I'm 40,023 and I was at 37.5. So let's update. 40,023. I'm happy with that, and we update my progress. Now we'll take a look at some of my buddies, so we'll see how they are doing. Alright, let's look at the buddies. Jessica McHugh. Alright, she is on her second novella, so she's already completed one novella between 25 and 30,000 words, and she's at 8,040 words now. So she's well on track when you add up both her projects. Alright, so very good work for her. I try not to show people that don't want to be seen on camera, so I'm going back and forth because I only want to show the ones that want to be seen. Alright, Devil's School. Armand Rosamelia is at 40,099 words. I'm really tempted to go back in and write just a few more words, so I'm like one word ahead of him, but I'm going to be mature and stop where I am right now. Alright, so good job, Armand. We are basically on the same pace, although he's ahead of me right now. Alright, let's take a look at John Quick. John Quick tends to live up to his name, and let's see how he did. John Quick has passed 50,000 words. Good job, John. He did an excellent job. I don't know if he's done with this book or if he's continuing on past the 50,000 words, but he has met his goal for the month. So all celebration for John Quick. Alright, let's see how everybody else is doing. Maybe we have a few more that have finished up. Alright. He's still working on his. So we'll check on him another time. See how he's doing. I think he's updated. Alright. J.C. Walsh is working on Death Highway 2. Death Highway 1 was a great book. Great first novel. I believe he has a short story collection that's either out or about to come out. He's at 10,641 words. He's having to work in between the job and other things, but he's continuing right along, and he keeps at it when he's writing. So even though he may be behind pace to get to 50,000 by the end of the month, he'll continue to work on this novel until it's done. So all encouragement to J.C. Walsh. Let's take a look at Alex from Iowa. Alright, Alex from Iowa is at 26,000 words for Iowa Creature Features, so he's about on track for the 30-day pace for 50,000 words. He may need to knock out a few more today or tomorrow to get up to that point, but he's pretty much right on track. So good job to him. Alright. Let's take a look at Tim Meyer. Oh, he is so close. Tim Meyer is at 48,007 words, so basically tomorrow he's going to knock out his 50,000 words. And again, I don't know how much more he has to write, so he may continue on after that. So excellent work, Tim Meyer. A couple more we'll look at. Let's see how Stephen Kazanowski's doing. He is at 44,484, so he's well on track to hitting the 50,000 goal, and there may be some more words after that. I think some of these guys are writing some longer novels, but 50,000 words gets you most of the way there with just about any novel. Cody Langill is on track. He is, with Broken Vistas, he's at 27,340, and at the day 15 you would need to be at 25,000 to be at the halfway mark. So he's ahead of the 30-day pace by just a little bit. So good job to him. And then we'll take a look at one more author. We have Todd Kiesling. He's doing great as well. So Todd Kiesling is at 32,369 words in Spiders in the Lattice. So he is well ahead of pace for getting 50,000 words before the end of the month. So great job to everybody there. I'm very proud of everyone and all the work they're doing, and hope that the novels are going well for them. I'm pretty happy with mine. I think mine is going to need a lot of editing, though, and definitely some rewrites to make the story make sense. I think the pace is going fine. I think I'm handling the characters well, but there's always ways to improve it. So this is not my Nano novel is not one that's getting turned over to a publisher anytime soon. I'm going to need to do some serious work on it before it's ready to go out at that level. But want to encourage everyone who's continuing to do NaNoWriMo and keep at it. And I look forward to talking to you again tomorrow.